Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and a PayPal link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, I'll eject you. And if you are ejected, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. If you're watching the show right now, please share the show, as this does increase the audience, of course, but that in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we do have Ali B with us, who's very graciously rejoined after a slight technical issue. Hello again, Ali. How are you doing?
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. My Wi-Fi cut out, and then that was it. It was game over. It didn't reconnect quick enough, so might as well just start a brand new show and forget the first 5 minutes of the other one.
Yeah, I missed them coming in there. It was Hoot, but not the real one.
Oh, HootTube.
That's the one, yeah. But the fake account. It was quite funny. It was quite relevant. There was actually proof to what I was talking about. These people come in and just snipe when we're just having a conversation. To me, it's irrational behaviour. You know, they might think we're irrational, but I think it's irrational behaviour to spend time on this. You know, to, as I say, do sock accounts and all this kind of. It's kind of, for me anyway, in my head, it's kind of a sign of instability. You know, there's something definitely not psychologically, there's something not right going on there. You know, for example, I'll talk about this anyway. For example, I was listening to that Discord last night, and they happened to start talking about Dell. He done a hangout last night, so what I done, I flicked across there, and these people, they were sat there plotting away, quite the thing, making up funny voices, you know, putting a lot of effort into this just to get, just to wind Dale up. And I thought, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, man, do you know what's wrong? There's definitely something wrong when you start putting on funny voices just for the sole purpose of going into, you know, just to wind someone up. And these are, well, you know, they're in their 30s, these people, right? I think, you know, and for me, or mid-20s, I mean, when I was that age, I certainly wasn't spending my time on hour after hour after hour after hour on the internet, just trolling people with an idea, or they want a discussion about it, you know, that kind of thing. It just seems to me irrational behaviour. You know, we're not causing any harm, I don't believe. So,
I don't know. Wrecking the paradigm of the elites and their programming and their deception. I think we are causing trouble.
Well, yeah, right. But the thing is that, yeah, but not to these people's lives. So, you know, like, I don't know, these trolls, we're having no impact whatsoever, because this is a different world, and on the internet, it's kind of it'll only escape if they take it out there, kind of thing. You know, in their reality, it'll only escape if they mention it to other people. Otherwise, it's like internal. It's like, so it's not. I don't know. It's like, you know, we're insulting their favourite pop stars, or it's a belief, or it's like they can't understand it. It is actually a cult, or a belief that they've got with that, just because the way that they're acting towards it. You could liken it to, for example, Scientology. If you ever look at any documentaries about Scientology, the person that investigates it usually gets a load of, you know, like There was, I think, that Louis Theroux. There was another guy done it in Britain. He done it about 20 years ago, and he was getting followed by them and intimidated and all this kind of thing. And we can accept that that's a cult and that's kind of cultish behaviour. You know, going about if you're attacking a certain idea or whatever, it's like these people come out the woodworks, man, and they're creepy. Well, for me, they're creepy. Anyway, it's I don't know what kind of lives they have or anything like that. It just seems strange behaviour. That was all, you know. That was about my comment on that. So
you can probably appreciate why a lot of people go around accusing people of being paid agents, because it seems nonsensical to spend years and years and years trying to sort of go along with the mainstream narrative. It's like, if you accept the mainstream narrative, just get on with your life. What's the point continually saying that we're disinformation agents? You know, in other words, accusing us of being agents, putting that into the minds of the people. And ultimately speaking, people like me, I mean, I did this a couple of years, 3 years ago. You know, you start looking at these people and going, well, they must be paid to do this. Why else would they be here?
Right. Well, yeah, right. Well, that's a good point you're making. But I think it's like, this is my idea, right? Because I've been accused of being an agent, right? Because I've got certain ideas, right? I've been accused of that. You know, there's a load of people in the flat earth think I'm an agent or I'm a character or an actor or whatever, right? But I'm not. I was actually talking to my friend about it. Because when I talk about the dodo or the Isle of Man, you know, I just tell him everything, and we just had a good laugh. And he actually encouraged me. He said, "Well, you should start, you know, acting, you know, like in that kind of way with it." But anyway, I was like, I can't pretend to be something I'm not. But anyway, so now these people have got it wrong about me, right? So now that tells me, that puts in that seed of doubt. Well, they're accusing someone else now. They've got it wrong about me. How do I know they haven't got it wrong about them? But still, that I do believe that there is, maybe it only takes one person in a group of 10 people to have influence over that. Now, there's possibly, I could certainly go with the idea, there's possibly maybe a handler or someone is getting paid, someone's been approached and is getting paid, but the other people are that, you know, as I say, you know, they're good at profiling people. And if you look at the instability of a lot of these ball earthers, you can see how they'd be easy targets because they don't need a lot to be encouraged about, you know, to do things or get involved in stuff or dox someone, or, you know, these are the types of characters, these are the people they would profile, and these people are quite happy to do it without payment, right? But the person that's doing it could quite possibly be an agent, but I do believe they've got an infiltrator. And that there has to be, you know, it's the way it is. It's the way it is because it is quite a subject. We're attacking the theoretical side of science anyway, because, you know, there's a lot of money goes into that, and they need the consent of the public to agree to, you know, give NASA or ESA or the Russian Space Agency or the Indian Agency. They still, in reality, they need the consent of the people so they have to sell it to them, kind of thing. So there is a lot to lose. You know, I think the world budget for all space exploration, blah blah blah, I think it's going into about $3 trillion or $4 trillion dollars a year. You know, and that's with all the countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is quite a lot of money. You know, that's quite a big industry, and someone's making a profit off of that money. You know, businesses, you know, don't want to work. You know, the whole point of having a business is to make a profit. And if that's what you know, it's obvious they're driven with profit. And when people are, you know, when there's that monetary value, or that lifestyle that everybody sees on the television as a tempter, you know, people are quite, these people anyway that get these jobs are quite easy to sell their morals. They can be quite easily convinced of, but the bigger picture, you know, we bombed a school in Iraq, for example, 40 kids died, but here we got 2 terrorists that would have killed thousands, right? And they'll say that in the one sentence. So suddenly 24 kids, 2000s, bigger picture. You know what I mean? It's quite easily to convince people of that nature to do that, to behave like that. So, as I say, I think there's definitely a guy that's stirring the pot on this troll team or these people kind of thing. They've definitely got an infiltrator. They're just as, most of them are as ignorant as more ignorant than we are. To me, it just makes sense, logical.
Sure. But I mean, there's people out there that you could easily point the finger at and find easy evidence. I mean, there's one in the chat right now. So M. Scott Veach, he's a writer for Forbes. He pushes the space narrative. He's the son of an astronaut. If you're going to point at anybody in those terms, that would be him. He's actually quite a nice guy to chat to, but nevertheless, that's his purpose in life. He's here to push the space narrative. And here he is in our chat. Shout out to M. Scott Veach. So, when people call me a shill, it's like, I'm not writing for Forbes. I'm not pushing space narratives. I'm not in cahoots with anybody that's pushing a lie. I'm just doing my own investigation, pushing what I find, what I see, how I see it. That's it. Me as an individual. I'm not trying to convert the masses. More than happy to discuss and debate. Someone like that, they're pushing a narrative. They've got their dogma. But, does anybody point the finger at him? Presumably not.
Well, that's it, and it was quite funny. There's a guy there. Who's that? Well, who's that guy that says he's a physicist? Paul someone, I think it is.
Paul Voigt.
Yeah, that's it, right? The Australian guy. The minute he came on the scene, said he's got he's a physicist. It was like on their side. It was like, just accepted. Yeah, that's it. Didn't need to show anything. Just he's quite happy. Yet they're demanding, that their want of evidence is unbalanced, shall we say? If that was, like someone on our side that said they would demand to see the papers, and most of us would be quite happy to show them. I'm quite open about who I am. I make sure I don't see. Because you'll get asked about it, so you're as well being truthful about, who we are, what we work at. Like yourself, everybody knows what you do for a living. People know what I do for a living. I think on the flat earth we're a bit more, we have to be a bit more open. And these, there's absolutely no proof at all unless Paul Voigt's a physicist. And nobody's asked him. And nobody asked on that side, nobody asked to see any proof. Anthony, he asked him, apparently he sent a letter to the St. Bees and said, okay, send me the email, send me the guy's name and I'll phone him up. Anything happen? Not at all, man. And I've even heard people, that was a nice one you done with the email. I don't think anybody's seen that email on either side. And these are normal questions, is it? Isn't it? It's quite reasonable to, okay, you said it's 150, let's see it, and why would you not show it, and then we can move on from that. But, it's like, they just clutch at straws. They'll take any bit of information, and that'll be that's done, oh, he's a physicist, so that means it's true, and they won't even look into it on anything sort of lacking. Anyway, how's the Isle of Man getting on? That's what I want to know about.
It's very contentious.
Where are you with that?
Well, this is like I said. I don't know if this made it on this stream or on the one that won't ever get published because I had a Wi-Fi problem. But thanks to the Rumpus, he's thrown a spanner in the works. So now it's contentious amongst ourselves. We're looking at it in fine detail again. It's like a continual pulling apart and putting back together of the same thing. The only difference being this time, in my opinion, it's been put together in a way that's undebunkable. It can now be presented, and Chris is happy to put his stamp next to this now. He'd be, so long as we're all in agreement, he'll publish it. That's the bottom line. So it's not going to get published if we can't come to a consensus for obvious reasons, but providing we can all come to a consensus, the guy who's put the model together and scaled it is happy to say, yes, this is correct. So it's we're in a position where once we do move forward, what we will move forward with, if we move forward, providing we move forward, it'll be a flat Earth model. So in essence, up until now, what we've presented is heliocentric debunking. So Chris shows his model and says this is a sphere. This is how it should work and what we should see, or should not in the case of the Isle of Man, and shows how it fails. So every model that's been presented thus far has been a failed globe model. And when we're asked quite explicitly, where's your model? We say, we haven't got one. And that's been the truth. We haven't. Until, well, I don't want to say until now, because it's not necessarily the case. None of this has been published. We've not made any concessions. We've not done anything in regards to this. But it becomes a whole lot stronger in that regard if you can actually present an alternative. So I said this yesterday, the current narrative is such that, yes, the stuff is geometrically impossible to be seen on a globe. It isn't there, that's a fact. However, there is a band-aid explanation. No, let's not put any derogatory terms on it. There is a acceptable explanation by the globe side, which is refraction. Now, whether or not you are willing to accept that, regardless of how I paraphrase it and ridicule it, that is the explanation, and you can accept that if you choose to. Many of the people in the chat now will accept it, wholeheartedly, with an understanding of what it means, and just accept that they can't see the stuff, but the light's being bent to bring it back. But bottom line, it ain't there, but we can see it, and that's fine as far as the globeheads who accept this narrative are concerned. We can just ridicule that and say that's just nonsense, slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holograms, but that doesn't actually debunk it. We just have an alternative. The alternative would be to say that we see the stuff because it's there, but we've never modelled it. We've never actually shown that to be the case in a flat Earth model, mainly because from Chris's perspective, it's a lot more risky. It's a considerable easier task to show something that is inherently so flawed as the globe failing. In fact, it's a bit of a doddle. But to show accurately how it does work is a totally different ball game, because you've got to be absolutely certain that there's no holes in it. It has to have been pulled apart and put back together in the way it has been. You couldn't move forward without knowing, and it got called peer review. It's not really peer review. It's review by our peers, but in the technical terms, it's not peer review. But technically speaking, once that model gets zipped up with the title Flat Earth Model of Isle of Man, that's a Flat Earth model showing how it does work as opposed to how it fails. And if it's a lot more acceptable to general Joe Blogs public, that's where you win. So your model fails, you can't see this stuff. Yeah, you've got an explanation, but here's our model, it succeeds and there's no explanations required. That's very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, and isn't it just so... See, I was thinking about this refraction thing, but even it's hidden, but I was saying... I was thinking it's very convenient, because it does explain quite a lot, right? It's like very convenient. It's the same as what do you call it? Like this thing about geodesy, right, or geodesy, whatever you want to call it. When the land's surveyed, right, it's surveyed in so maybe 100-meter max stretches, because of there's what do you call it, tolerance or a error margin, if you want to call it, plus or minus half a centimetre over 100 metres or something when you're doing, or 5 mil over 100 metres or something, there's an error margin. Now what they do is they measure, when they're surveying, they measure it on the horizontal. Right? And once they've measured it on the horizontal, they've done all their maths, then they add, especially if it's for long, projects, if they want to put it onto a sphere, they'll add the mathematics afterwards. So what they're basically doing is drawing straight lines horizontal, and then what they're doing is they're taking that information and they're putting it onto spherical, a sphere, actually on a sphere, so the information that they're taking, the same as what satellites do. Satellites take the information as given flat plane, right? And then I know there's contention about satellites, but this is what they basically do. Are the ones that do the geodetic surveying, or whatever, the ones that are used for that, depending whether they're checking the mean sea level, the height of things off the geoid or the ellipsoid, depending what they're measuring, they'll use one of the three there. But the point is that that satellite is taking measurements. All the information comes back as flat plane, right? It's looking at a surface, a flat surface. It's taking that information, and then it processes with an equation or a program inside the satellite, and they'll convert that to spherical details, whether it be on a geoid or whatever, and then that information is then transmitted down to the ground station, and that information will come in the spherical already on a ball. So the guy that's looking at that information will say, all right, it's already done. He doesn't have to do the mathematics or add the program, because it's already done on site in the satellite, right? That's circling up above us. And then the guy on the ground, the land surveyor guy, he measures in the horizontal, takes into account, give or take, 5 mil tolerance or whatever it is, over 100 meters, I think. And it's all straight lines, and it's all on a flat plane. And then once they've done that, then they add the curvature, and it's a mathematical equation. So when they turn into curvature, no matter what they do, it's still going to work. You know what I mean? They'll still, when they go to the 100 meters away, that's on a flat, that's on a plane. So the curvature is added on after, not before. It's added after.
Sure.
As I say, so the
there's none to
gathering
account
of data
for.
is done on a flat plane.
That's exactly it. There's none to account for. So you can't be accounting for something that isn't there before you build something. You've got to survey what's actually there, and what they actually survey is a flat plane.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then they add the curvature for if the likes that. I mean, the Google Maps say that they're plus or minus 30 meters difference. That just tells you how accurate, because that's still satellite data. People have to understand that's still satellite data, and that's done in a resolution. Because if you imagine, like, say a satellite, and then imagine it on a globe, there's like a beam, a torch beam. It's got a certain spread, right? It's got a hot spot where it's gathered information, and as I say, is if you shine a torch on a wall, you'll notice it'll have a hot spot, then it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Well, that's exactly what happens with the radio waves that the satellite bounces off or takes the heights, right, when it surveys the ground. So the information it's got an accuracy on the hot spot is higher than the width. So it could be, for example, the hot spot could be maybe 50 kilometers in circumference, but the actual width of the beam that it's taken, the beam that's coming out, could be maybe 100 kilometers in circumference. And the information, there's a higher error margin as it goes out to the other, to where the signals are, shall we say, in light, the dimmest. Right? But it's still taken as a flat plane, so it's just like a torch surveying a flat plane. If you had a square and shone the torch in the top left-hand corner and then tracked it left to right, right to left, that's exactly what you're doing. You'll still see hot spots, and that's how they do the surveying. But the information that they take in is off a flat plane, and they add the sphericity afterwards. So that's how they do it. So we don't have to take it. So if they can do that and put it onto a ball, of course they can put it back onto a flat plane, because that's its origins, its mathematical origins derive from planar geometry. Right? So if it can go one way, if it can go forward, it can go back. So when they say, oh, you can't put a spherical coordinates onto a flat plane, well, sorry, you can, because that's where it comes from, and that's where the information, the data that they take comes from. You know, so it just sounds stupid when they talk about that, and nobody really seems to get it. these people don't seem to get it. That actually the information comes from that flat plane that measures. Same as this land surveyor, everything, man, they're measuring horizontal lines and heights off the horizontal, not off the centre of gravity.
Yeah, exactly. They might take their geodetic reference point to begin with from a geodetic model, but all that does is give them a point in the ground reference to their geodetic reference point, and then they minus off or plus on whatever height they need, and then zero their reference.
Yeah, well,
and once they've done
yeah,
that,
well,
they level their transits. So they have that. Everyone's going to be familiar with a surveyor with a yellow tripod with what looks like a lantern on top of it. Well, that has to be perfectly level, referencing horizontal, perfectly flat. And as they spin that around, it must be perfectly level. It cannot deviate. You know, if it did, they'd get sacked. But basically, their sole purpose is to do exactly as you've described: reference the horizontal and reference the heights versus that horizontal reference point, which is completely flat.
Yeah, well, exactly. If for example, Nathan, right? See, have you ever seen them? Have you ever seen them? What do you call it? The little yellow concrete like posts. You sometimes pass by them. They've got two numbers written on them and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're
sure.
actual date. Some of them are datum. The actual datum points, height above sea level. We've got them all over in Denmark. It's got two numbers, and it basically, and that's the reference point. For example, if I was surveying a certain area, I would find that point there, and I would take my measurements because that's an exact measurement above sea level. It's these coordinates, you know, what do you call it? GPS coordinates there, and then you'll start taking lines off of that because you know that's above sea level. So if you measure an inclination, it's got nothing at all to do with going to the centre of the earth, the centre of the earth, which is not even the centre, like they say. That's a fallacy as well, but that's for another story. But they'll measure inclination, you know, height up, declination down. So they're exactly, you know, for example, if I set up my theodolite, I got my guy with my staff with the measurements on it. I stuck a box on the ground that was a foot high. Next to that box, I would put the stick on the ground, and it would say it read 6 foot. Right now, to find the height of that box, when I put the stick on top of the box in the theodolite, that number I'll go down by a certain amount, and then you add that on, and then you find out the height of that. That'll be a foot above the datum, right? That'll be a foot above the datum, and that'll give you your height. So that's basically what you're doing. So I could then another 75 meters away, I put a box that was 2 meters. Right, so now I know 100 meters. It's it's a foot higher there, and then I'll measure there from a foot higher over to the next. And if that's 2 foot higher, I know this is a foot higher on the datum that I'm on. So that other one sits at 2 feet, if you know what I mean. And that's all they do, and they'll just go along the flat plane. That's how you get your inclination, declination. It's off your actual datum.
Hey, Jazzaconda, good to have you. How you doing? Hear us? Can you say hello? Still with us, Ali, or have you been sniped already?
No, I'm still here at the moment, but I might suddenly disappear.
Yeah, if you do.
So you can kind of see the concept there. So it's exactly that. It's off the horizontal, and that's how you get your heights. So that 1 foot will be exactly horizontal. You know what I mean? And you've got to hold the staff. When you hold the staff, what you do is, if you're not using the laser level, if you're using a dumpy or the theodolite that you've centered, right, you get the guy. So the guy will look through the theodolite and he'll see the markings on the staff. And the guy that's holding the staff will push the staff forward and backward and forward and backward. And what happens is that the guy with the theodolite, if you pull it back, you'll see the number go down. You push it forward, you'll see it go up. And he'll find the medium where the middle place, and that'll be the exact height between the two. So the guy holding the staff with the numbers on it, he'll put it forward, maybe stretch his arm forward a wee bit backward, not too much, maybe an inch or 2 inches forward, so that when the guy's looking at it, that number's moving up and down, and then he'll find his exact height, as I say. So they're actually measuring off the horizontal, always horizontal, never mind to the geoid or whatever, that gets added later on. And the thing is, if you're doing a building over 100 metres, sure enough, the error margin, your whatever, half a centimetre, it can kind of correlate to the curvature you might experience. So it just kind of cancels itself out. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's quite an interesting little trick that they've got with that error margin, is they can hide the curvature inside that error margin. So they could add the curvature, no problems, man. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. You know what I mean? And so they could make it into a sphere, but it's not actually curving, just because there's an actual optical, just because of the refraction in the lens. Because you've got to remember, if I'm looking through a lens, right, the light's refracting off the lens, but it's also refracting off my eye as well. So you're getting two. So, but as I say, it's just maybe I'm waffling a bit.
No. What you're saying, it makes perfect sense. And you know, if you just consider that, if you looked across a city, you would know that every single part of that city had been built on a level transit. So every time they've surveyed it and built on it, they're building to a level plane every single time. And you can see cities that cross, you know, massive expanses. And if you're to stand on the beginning part of that city, look across it and assume that in your vision you can detect and measure curvature, as we do when we do these debates and people bring up photographs and they start saying how much curvature, how much is being blocked. It's like the entire thing is built on a flat plane. So to assume that you're going to stand at the beginning of it and observe curvature is ridiculous. It's not there. It's not been accounted for when anything was built, and it would need to be. The point being that Chris pointed out that on the ground, if you actually look for curvature, if you were a surveyor and you had that level of detail in your equipment, you'd find curvature. It would be there on the sphere that they tell us that we live. The size permits seeing curvature at ground level, but no surveyor in history has built anything and accounted for it. It's not there in reality. However, they will tell you it's there even though you can't see it and detect it. You'd need to see it, and it would need to get more pronounced as you went up in altitude. As you rise up, you should see more curve, starting from some curve at ground level, detectable. But no one's going to ever show it you. Every single surveyor is always going to tell you the same thing. They survey to a flat plane. They level their transits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying about, I think that they hide, you know, in that error margin kind of thing. I think they hide it. And I, as I say, I was kind of, it made me thinking a lot of these equations, right, from stars and, you know, all these equations that they do, they also have an error margin, right, you know, especially when gravity is involved, right? So I was thinking, right, if the error margin is bigger than the actual force of gravity, this is just a theory I've got, how they've been, because I'm just wondering how they've been hiding the gravity. So, and it was about that thing I said about the surveying. I said they could probably hide the curvature inside the error margin, so they could say it was, oh, this is the curvature, when it was actually part of the error margin of the, you know, the equipment that you were using. So the curvature's not there, but they can add it because it'll have so little impact on the final measurement, right? It'll have so little impact because it's always 0.0 blah blah blah, right? And so it's the same as what I was thinking with gravity. Now you've got your plus or minus 3 centimeters or 3 kilojoules or whatever, 100 Pascal or whatever, you know, you've got your plus and minus. And if you actually look at the gravitational constant and look at it as a number, it actually fits in to the error margin, if you know what I mean. So you could stick that in, it's like you could stick that in there within that, as long as it doesn't cross the plus or the minus, You could stick anything in it. I could say it was white horses pulling that, give it a value, and there's no way, because of the error margin that I've already introduced, there's no way actually finding out that equation in there, because it doesn't affect the plus or the minus, you know what I mean? So they've got so that error margin is working within the parameters of the plus, the highest, and the lowest kind of value. Right, and then they can multiply it up. I don't know if it's sounding right, but I think that's how they're hiding these anomalies like refraction, gravity, the curvature, everything. As I say, if you look at every single one of their equations, there's always a plus or a minus, and within that plus and minus, you could stuff whatever you like, as long as that value, when multiplied by that distance or whatever, does not go over the plus or minus, and they can say, "Oh, that's gravity." Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Chris was telling me that I can never get the name of this piece of equipment, gravitrometer. How can I say it?
A gravimeter, it's called. It's a gravimeter. It's like an accelerometer that you get inside. It's a thing on springs. It's a little weight on springs.
Right.
On a spring. Yeah.
So they kind of, again, just in the description of what the equipment that they use kind of alludes to finding gravity. Do you know what I mean?
Well, hey, listen. I don't think people know actually what it is. It's basically just a little weight on a spring, right? And what they do is they measure it. It's almost like like an earthquake. The things that earthquake. It's when that, because it's in a fixed place. If that little box, if that little weight that's hanging on the spring moves, it registers something. If it compresses or it extends, and that's basically what a gravimeter does. So what they've got to understand is any vibration whatsoever will make, because it's so what do you call it? So finely tuned, yeah.
Yeah, sensitive.
Yeah, it's sensitive. That's it. There's a wee story about LIGO, and the people will tell you about it. When they switched on, LIGO's that looking for the gravity, it found out two black holes colliding or whatever, and it measured the gravitational wave that came. But when they first sort of switched it on and stuff like that, there was they kept getting these strange readings, and they couldn't work it out for weeks and weeks. And what it was, right? There was a construction site about 4 miles away, and this thing was picking up the noise from the traffic, from the lorries coming back and forward. That's actually what they were. They were actually picking up that noise or whatever from there, and that was setting off their thing. So they've got to, what they're doing is, it's basically what their sensors pick up with that light or whatever. But you've got to think it this way: that if you've got a radio and you tune from the station, well, that bit that's tuned in the station, that's the noise. That's like radio waves. Now they've got to find a specific, what do you call it, hertz, or not hertz, vibration, or a certain, how many hertz it is. But out all that noise going, all that up and down, that's what they would be hearing. And then they'll home in on a certain frequency. That's a certain frequency or a certain note. You can liken it to a musical note that they're listening to, and they'll pick out that musical note and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, that's two black holes colliding in such." That's what it would sound like if it was going to happen. And then they record that little blip or that little chirp, or they called it a chirp or whatever. Then they record that, but they record it through sound. But as I say, it's ridiculous to even think that I don't know. I think it's a load of nonsense that you can measure two black holes out of all that noise, all that extra noise, to filter it and all that kind of stuff.
I think this is what they want us arguing about, though. CERN and LIGO and all these sorts of massive instruments that we're never going to be able to copy or replicate in any way, shape, or form. You know, they can completely control the narrative on it in the microscopic world, I would have said. Or they're much more likely to be able to completely control it.
Well, actually, well, absolutely. And if you understand the NSF, that's the National Science Foundation, right? What they do is they're basically, they decide where the budget for science goes to, basically, right? They actually decide. So they're like, what happens is you can apply for a grant or whatever, and the government, it has to go through the NSF. If it's not a direction that they want science to go into, you won't get the grant. Right. So at the moment, the big thing is gravitational waves. They're actually going for this simulation theory as well. And that's, I just hold my, you know, when, yeah, well, this simulation theory. I mean, there's some flat earthers that are going for this as well. But as I say, I don't believe maths describes nature. So you need maths to come up with that simulation theory to show it. It's the same old hogwash. It's the same old hogwash as Paul would say.
They've been punting it for ages. They've been slowly ramping up the propaganda in regards to simulation theory for decades. You know, it's been around for a long time.
Oh, it has, hasn't it? The holographic universe, hasn't it? You know, I can remember it years ago.
Yeah, same applies to things like the Matrix.
I actually looked into it, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating. You know, wasted time trying to get my head around it. You know, years and years ago, as I say, before flat earth or conspiracy theories, I've always liked my science. You know, when you made a point there, it's been out before. It's been out for many years. You know, 20 years. I think maybe in the 80s or the early 90s. Would that be? Maybe. You know,
I mean, the first time I saw it was in the, I think it was probably 2006 was the first time I read about it, and it was in the New Scientist. And again, they didn't profess that it was anything new, but I think it was, in that article, it was based on Moore's law, so they sort of extrapolated out the exponential increase in processing power, you know, double the power and half the cost every couple of years, or whatever the formula is, but that extrapolates out to us already being in a simulation. Ah,
right, okay. All right. Well, that's what, so now with the NSF, right, so they actually decide where this budget, where they actually did it. So they're actually directing. You know, it's not like a free-for-all out there. You know, oh, I want to, I've got an idea for electricity, and this will, or a way of, you know, producing more power out of a less power kind of thing. I've got that, yeah, I need grants. No, you won't get the grants unless that is on the agenda, if that's on the table, because the NSF, the National Science Foundation, they direct the funding. You know, they actually direct it into, oh yeah, we'll do, yep, you can get that. So people under the illusion that it's like a free-for-all. No, it's not. It's been directed. The science has been directed into certain fields. And that's where the thing with the Large Hadron Collider, and that's going to be obsolete in, I think, in about 5 years or something like that. I think China's building one at the moment or something. You know, but that's going to be, you know, kind of obsolete because of the energies that they need. It's funny that how they measured a black hole, the energies of a black hole, when they haven't even got a machine that can replicate it. You know, that amount of energy that you would need for that would come off these two black holes colliding, or the gravitational wave, the amount of energy that would be needed for that can't be replicated. You know, so like straight away, right, if it can't be replicated, we can't test it. The only way they can test it is by putting it into a model and then into a computer. Oh, it works. Oh, right, that was their observation. Right, that was their test. Their test was done with a mathematical equation. I've had the proof come up on the screen. You know, job done. There we go, we've proved it. But just on the boundaries of it's it's like it's on the boundaries of their knowledge. They're making a program, an observation on the boundaries. So that's restricted. The information you're going to get off that model or that program will be restricted by the knowledge of the person that's putting in the data into that. And and as I say, there's and that's their scientific observation. It's just looking at a screen. They'll observe something happening or hear a noise. They'll say, "Oh, that's that." Right, well, right. So we're going to say it's this. They'll write a program for it. They'll pump in the numbers, and if it doesn't work first time, they'll say, "All right, we'll change that." And they'll just change values, and bingo, they've got it working. There you are. That's what it is.
You mean to say that when we see the dots and lines on the monitors at CERN, that isn't really what it looks like or sounds like? I'm amazed.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like there was a great program. It was what was it? It was in the 70s. That guy. Do you remember a guy called, I think it's Richard Burke or something like that?
Or was it Horizon?
Well, there's a great one. He's got. It's called Connections. He does this series. You can get it on the internet, and it's like about 20 episodes, and he covers everything.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen these. I'm sure I've seen them. There's loads of people that lift bits of it out, right, and use them in little flat Earth examples.
All right. Well, it's called Connections. It's called, Google it, Richard Burke Connections. You can get it. The whole series. It's quite a big file. I don't know how many gigs it is. It's quite a big file. I've got it down there. But I'm saying there was one time he actually went into what were they looking at? A star or something. They were sat inside an observatory, right? And you could see the monitors behind him. He's talking to this astrophysicist or whatever. And then suddenly a little blip comes up, and it was the old style graph paper, with the pen on it. So you could see that kind of old fashioned thing going. And every time there was a sound, it would go, it would draw a peak or whatever. And as they were talking, right, this little peak came up, and the astrophysicist straight away turned around and said, "Oh, that's such and such." And I was like, "Wait a minute, that was a fucking..." And he was describing what they just it was something exploding or something, and he just explained it. Just they were talking about something else, and then this event happened, and then he went on to explain what that was. I thought, what, just off a line, a peak drawn on a bit of graph paper.
Man, he should have just written the word "wow" next to it. It'd have got a lot more press.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, and it's and when you look at this, when you're looking at this from the outside, anything like when you hear some of these ball earthers talking, you can tell they haven't done their research. They're just repeating, right? Because there's two different sciences, right? There's the mainstream that the newspapers propagate, or the television propagates, and then there's the actual real science. That's when you see them giving lectures and stuff like that. And if you take it from the mainstream, all science agrees. All science agrees. That's the consensus. That's why these people are saying, these the people that are doing the ball earth, or these people that are attacking us for a little opinion or thoughts, is that they're going by that everybody agrees. But when you look into the science, when you actually look into it, no, they don't all agree. They don't. It's not done and dusted. Clapping hands like that. Neil deGrasse Tyson was stupid with a microphone. That proved. Imagine using that as proof of gravity, dropping a microphone. I mean, that's a scientist, man. How old is this guy? What is he? Is he 7, 8 year old or something?
He's not that old.
Yeah, but it's like triggered. These people are triggered.
Yeah, well, you summed it up at the beginning. You didn't really say it, but you almost said it, which is that you're attacking their religion. The comparison for me, sorry, any Christians in the audience, but the extremist Christians do go on the rampage if you in any way attack their belief and try and pull it apart. And the heliocentric believers are no different. They react in the same way. And it's because you're attacking their faith, their belief. And when you point out to them that it's a faith or a belief, they don't like that either. No, it's not. It's a theory, it's fact, whatever. You know, they've got a whole string of words that they can throw back at you to tell you that a belief is not a belief, and it is. But no one wants to hear that. You know, it gets people angry.
Yeah, well, they're changing. You know, it's like there's different vocabulary. That's what I'm saying about it. It's so stupid when it's like, if you say a word, for example, and I turn around and say, "Oh, that doesn't mean that." Well, I obviously know what you are meaning in the first place. You understand? So I'm just basically picking on your grammar. It's not that I didn't understand what you meant. And that's what they do. That's their tactic. They look for any way in. They're coming from as I say, there's a great interview I suggest everybody has to see this guy. It's Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, he was interviewed by a woman called Kathy Newman on Channel 4. And this Jordan Peterson, he's a clinical psychologist, and he's getting a wee bit of hassle now because he's talking about, you know, transgenderism and all this kind of this topic, and Black Lives Matter and kind of stuff like this. And he got interviewed on Channel 4, and it was basically it was this woman, which is meant to be neutral, just attacking this guy, twisting his words. You know, every single thing he said, she was given. You know, he would say something, and she would say, "Oh, so you're saying now that you know, women should stay in the house and work?" He's like, "No." He says, "I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all." She just totally. And so I sort of listened to that interview. I thought, my God, man, that was like listening to a ball earther, like totally twisting this guy's. But fair play to him, he done very, very well. But he actually done a follow-up with this guy, and he explained the psychology behind what this woman actually. Oh, hello. Hello.
Can you tell us how you say your name? I don't want to butcher it. Maia? Have I got that right? Am I saying that correctly? Yep, you're off mute. You're on mute. You're off mute. Can you say a quick hello? Can you hear us? Okay. Still with us, Ali?
Yep, still here, mate.
Sorry, I'll just do a quick plug just to say, if you do join the show, you need to immediately say a hello and then continue to talk, so we know you're not just here to snipe the show or troll or swear or do whatever else that isn't wanted. So yeah, if you join, say hello. Hopefully a few more of the words, just so we know that you've got good intentions. That's all. So my apologies, I have just kicked you out. Please feel free to return on the next show. You won't be able to return on this one. I've done it twice now with people who say I've got mic issues. It's like, yeah, I've heard it all before.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah, I just waited there. Actually, I didn't because he kept switching the mic on and off. I just let it go there. So.
Yeah, I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to
what
sort
were you
themselves
saying
out.
Nathan, about
So you go on.
All right. Well, I forgot what I was talking about there.
I think we were into what we were into.
Oh, the psychology. Yeah.
Yes.
Jordan Peterson. Right. Back to him. Right. So what he done was, I mean, you should really, honestly, man, you should really watch this interview. Kathy Newman, Jordan Peterson. It's about a 20-minute, and my God, it was a disgusting bit of journalism, and it was a pure hit piece, right? But what he done afterwards is he done because he's a clinical psychologist, he done analysing or talking about the psychology of it, she was actually, and I think it was Carl Jung talked about the anima and the animus, and she was actually, because he said he was sat there before, you know, he was sat quite pleasant, had a really normal chat. Yeah, how you doing? Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, nice day. Yeah, blah blah. And then the minute the camera turned on, he was like, she changed. You know, she changed into this character. This whereas it was no longer a conversation, and it wasn't like, you know, one of the old day presenters. You know, they would push on the subject and get quite brutal with the questions, but this was just totally. It was strange. You would have to watch this. And so he explained, he was explaining what was happening, what character she was playing. And he just basically described the behaviour of most ball earthers. Or quite a couple anyway. There's a couple, for example, that Curved Water, or that Mark Taylor, or the Rizzler character. They're particularly animalistic in their what do you call it, their interactions with flat earthers kind of thing. They start off from that. They start off as a predator, right? So they're never going to listen to what you say. They're in their heads. They're just looking for an in, so that they can spout their vitriol or call you an idiot, and they'll never actually face or address, you know, the fact. And it's quite it's, you know, as I say, when someone's in that mode, you're as well not talking to these people, and you know, you won't ever, because what happens is you can catch them. I've had some nice, some normal conversations with Mark Taylor, not that Rizzler, and Curved Water, just talking about other stuff, right? But the minute it goes into another, you know, and the next time you meet them, it's like brutality, man. It's like pure brutal. It's like two different people you've been talking to. You know what I mean? So that was the kind of concept that Jordan Peterson. It's like a character, kind of thing. You know, animalistic predator. You know, they're grammatical predators, man, and they'll rip you to pieces on that, just on point of grammar. But to someone that's observing that isn't aware of that, it'll sound totally logical, especially if you're in agreement with the guy that's attacking. You know, quite fascinating. But I suggest everybody have a look at that.
It's fight or flight, so they've got into that mode, and they're so used to being in that mode that's the part of the brain they're using. It's instinctive, either flee, run away, or fight to the death. So yeah, when you say animalistic, that's a very apt way to put it. You're not wrong. I mean, I've got an example of this. I won't name the two globers. I know you just rattled off a list of them. But we've got a glober and a flat earther. And the flat earther saying, I just don't get it. I can't visualise why someone would be standing upside down from me on the bottom of a ball. And Baller goes, that's nonsense. That's rubbish. That's complete nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. On and on. Attacking. And I interject and say, well, I don't really understand what the problem is. The guy saying he can't conceptualize somebody being antipode to him, and the Baller goes, that's not what he said. It's like, oh, so literally you're just attacking him on semantics, like vehemently attacking him just because he hasn't got the phraseology correct.
Yeah, well, that's it, Nathan, and that's the kind of mentality we're dealing with. We can choose. I mean, that problem with Spurs' problem with the ISS, I'm still not 100% convinced. It can be seen from left to right. Well, actually, before you went on to you and Chris, and you know, you done that little live thing explaining to Spurs about it, I'd already said that, already worked that out, because that was after my thing. I couldn't get it. But I've eventually seen it now. It's just to do it. There's still something that's not right about it, but I'm not going to say anything about it until. But it can be seen going from across from left to right. But I had to find out for myself. As simple as that. You know, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But at the moment,
I
have to
recorded that for
convince
a reason,
myself
because
100%.
I kind of wanted to show the process that Chris goes through, because he spends huge amounts of hours doing these sorts of things, and most of it most people never get to see. He gets to present an end result occasionally, but the sort of time and effort that he puts into modelling this stuff and figuring it out, and it's fun to watch. So recording it meant that people see what he's doing to model it, and you can see the stages you go through. So you go, oh right, so it can traverse the other way. But hang on, we're looking through the backside of the globe halfway through the month now. It's that kind of process of elimination of what can be done. So it can be done. No, it can't be done. No, it can be done. No, can it be? Can't it be? And you go back and forth, and you scale it out and you model it out, and you eventually get to a conclusion. But it takes a long time and a lot of effort to model this stuff in. But that's something Chris is really good at doing, and like I say, till now, I don't think anybody actually has got to see that process in action.
Well, if you remember, we had I think at the beginning, I think I was privy to a private hangout with you. I think Chris was there. I think Shane was there, and Anthony was there, and we were sitting talking. But in the background, Chris was busying away with that was on the screen, but we were talking, and Chris was just in the background busying away on his model, and I was sitting watching. I think, geez, man, that's there is a load of work, and then you get these people just coming along and saying, "Oh, he's got that wrong," and that. I mean, it's just like they do. The people that are criticising come up with daft little drawings, 2-dimensional drawings, and say, "Oh, look at this," and a squiggly line from the right. And here's a guy that's bringing a model to and it does take a lot of work. These people are just, as I say, now I think they're attacking. It's just a constant.
You're not wrong. I mean, I'll give that a bit more wordy explanation. So what you're describing is an orthographic view, a side-on view. So the picture that Anthony ends up with taking becomes an orthographic view. So that's what people have been scaling it against. Peak Finder would be the perfect example. It's an orthographic view of what the peak should look like from your position, right? Well, the problem is that as you try and scale through an orthographic view, you can get it to line up in various different ways, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll work in a 3-dimensional view. And that's what Chris is doing. So yes, he can draw his conclusions and say, well, yes, this matches and it scales in the orthographic world and looks about right. But it doesn't scale perfectly, and that's where he's been up until now. I mean, this was the bit that, this is why we're both, me and Chris, tipping our hat to Rumpus, is because while he gave a 3-hour hangout with all sorts of explanations for why we could see curvature, we can't. We've already demonstrated that. The globe model still failed completely, but he gave us one particular detail that we had missed, and it completely changed the scale. And by doing so, Chris was able to say this works perfectly. And by work perfectly, I mean you can put it into any view you like. You can put it into an orthographic view, top-down view, bird's eye view. You can look at it from an angle. You can look at it from anything. You can move the picture back and forth through the 3-dimensional view and watch the peaks line up and pass through the picture. It's an amazing model, but it's correct. It's only amazing because it absolutely perfectly matches reality without any excuses being needed to make for it. None. Up until now, we're like, well, this bit's more refracted than that bit, and that bit's further away than this bit. And it's like you can hear in what we're debating that it's the scale that's being debated about. They're saying it's this, we're saying it's that, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But eventually, if you've got someone like Chris on your side, who's got the tools and the skill to model it 3-dimensionally and just trial and error until he gets it absolutely correct, you end up at a perfect scale. And that's what we've got. This is what I'm saying will be, in time, presented as a working alternative model to the failed globe model, which has already been demonstrated. Nothing's going to change in that regard. From
the point of view of the Isle of Man, as I say, or as I've thought, if that gets nailed down, and you can do other bits, look at other bits, other photographs, and plot that out, and then it's like, as I say, but it's good that we're. It just goes to show that nobody in the little group there that you've got, is nobody's just going, oh yeah, it's good that they say, no, I don't agree with that. And you know, there's some criticism there, so that it's going to get pinned down, and it will. You guys will pin it down. You know, it's that close, and it's probably a good thing you've got another week to do it. You know.
I mean, absolutely no rush whatsoever. You know, I'm not going to be pressured. This is kind of a hobby. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Hit that super chat and all that kind of stuff. But by the same token, this isn't my job. This is a hobby. So in terms of having any pressure or stress come from it, nah, no way. You know, that's not going to be the case. This is for entertainment purposes. I'm a YouTuber, so when it becomes stressful, it's like, no, this is reality. This is the real world we live in. And since becoming a flat earther, life has been considerably less stressful. So I'm not going to inject it just because people feel that they can foist it upon you. It's like, no, just take this stuff in your stride. You know, life's too short. Enjoy life. Take out the fun parts of it. You know, don't focus on the stressful bits. Occasionally, stress is necessary to make progress. But, you know, I've been doing the debate show for a few months now, a couple of hours a day minimum. And if you want to call this stressful, I don't find it stressful particularly. It's very, very entertaining to me because I'm resigned to the facts. The Earth is in fact flat, and nothing's going to change that. It's always been flat. So to debate about it, you know, what other purpose is there other than to keep people entertained? Along the way, there may be people who are watching this that aren't convinced and become convinced. But that really doesn't affect me in any way. You know, honestly, it doesn't. You know, I already know that's the fact. That's not going to change my opinion in that regard. Call me a dogmatist if you will, but the Earth is obviously and observably flat. And no one's going to change the way we survey it. No one's going to change the way we assess the land or what we see or what we photograph. And all these things point to one thing. You know, you can tell back about the celestial poles all you like. It doesn't matter. The ground beneath my feet's got to be curved if we're going to be on a ball, and it isn't. So, from my point of view, I'm quite relaxed about all of this. There's a lot of people who spew their vitriol. They're the ones that are stressed about it, not me. And on the most part, they're the globe heads. It's not the flat earthers.
Yeah, well, I find it funny, right, because you get accused of being triggered in that. Do you know what it reminds me when you're doing that? It just reminds me of a very stern father talking to a child. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's nothing to do with being triggered or anything like that. It's the only way that these people understand, you know, that you can actually talk to them. You're firm, you know, like a controlled trigger. If you know what I mean? But they keep thinking that you're inside emotionally, you're raging kind of thing. But you can actually talk. No, it's like this, and this. And inside your head, when you talk like that, it's not that you're angry or anything like that. It's you've resigned yourself to the fact that you have to talk to them as if they're a child, but with a bit of sternness in your voice. So every time, and then they totally misconstrue it, because what they do is they're projecting how they would feel if they talked the way that you talked. In their heads, they would have to be angry that they're triggered, so they're actually relating it to themselves and projecting onto you, saying, oh well, the only way that I would talk like that Nathan's talking like is if I was angry, so obviously he's angry. You know, that flawed logic, because they do have flawed logic, you know, that kind of flawed logic, they're kind of projecting how they would seem or how they think they would feel inside, you know, what their thoughts were when they were talking like you. When it just sounds like a very stern father talking to little children, man, which, you know, mentally, I think they are. You know, mentally they are. Emotionally, shall we say, I would say they're emotionally retarded people. I think, and they work too much, you know, in my opinion anyway, regarding we think in with two things, reason and emotion. And I think the way that you need to really think is like find that balance.
No, you're going to get sniped, I'm afraid, Ali. Hooch joined. It was fun talking to you, though.
Oh. Well, I might still be here, though.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. That they're emotionally retarded. They're thinking with their emotions, and I mean, I mean, the proof is when they start shouting and bawling and calling you all sorts of, the C word and telling you to die. Or, inside, that's not a stern father talking to a child. That's a raging machine inside. That's what's happening psychologically. The inside that person's brain, it's firing off at her. There's rage almost. It's almost down to, and that's uncontrollable. And that's it. So that tells me that they're thinking with the emotional side of their spirit or their consciousness or whatever you want to call it, instead of their reason. Their reasoning is, for example, is it a good way? Is this a good way to, communicate with people? They wouldn't get very far. You know what I mean? In life, if that was it, like end of story, if they talked like that to people in normal that maybe had a difference of opinion, they wouldn't last very long. They'd be fighting all the time.
It's only
So it
it's
just shows
only
a bit of
it's only permitted
an
because we're doing it
emotional
online. I think if it wasn't done online, you wouldn't get away with the sort of the faceless potato aspect that we encounter in Flat Earth.
Oh, well, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. That's when you can tell these people out. You could call them cowards. Emotional cowards.
Oh, I
Or
definitely have.
reasonable
I've labelled a
cowards.
couple of them cowards in a few videos. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, and it's very insulting to them. Obviously accurate, but insulting. They find it insulting. It normally triggers people when you call them a coward.
Yeah, but exactly. But look at the definition of that, and their behaviour is cowardly. You couldn't really actually describe it in any other way. Someone that hides her face, or not, never mind that, would not say them things to your face or to people's faces or whatever. They pick on the weak. There was a guy came in there last week to Discord. He came in there and he says, "I don't get this, guys. Why you attacking? Why don't you go and attack the people that are, the government that's, spending your money on stuff, or your politician that's dragging you off to war, or the pharmaceutical company that's, that's making dodgy." Hey, Alan.
Hello, guys.
Oh,
What's up,
good.
Ian? Nice to see you.
Hi, good to see you back, Nathan. I hope you're all healed up.
Nearly.
Nearly.
Hearing slowly returning.
Oh, hearing. Oh, that's a
Just
nasty
had a
one.
cold, but it was when the day I didn't do a show, I just had my daughter with me, and she had the same thing I did, and just with both of us being ill, it was just too much to cope with to do a show, so I just didn't do one. But the days before, I was ill as
I
well.
was going to say for a moment that your daughter was going to do the show, but
Yeah, she tries to.
she definitely does. She'll be a star in 10 years, probably doing her own YouTube show.
I'm going to butcher this guy's name. M-A-H-I-R Ahmed. I can say the Ahmed bit. My apologies for kicking you. Yeah, I know you've got mic issues. Just join again tomorrow. You will be able to rejoin on the next show. But if we don't hear a hello from you, we don't know what your intentions are. So I tend to kick people after about 20 seconds if they don't say hello.
Yeah. So
Feel free to join on the next show. Might be my opportunity to do a quick link, actually, so I'll do that now. Hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. Not much of a debate today. We'll see how it ends, but we've got about a little under maybe an hour left on this live stream. If you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to join the discussion, click the link in the info box below this video. Be sure not to swear when you join. If you do swear, I'll kick you out, but please don't try to rejoin using sock accounts on this show. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next show. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. As I say, we have about an hour left on this live stream. If you've not done so already, one last time, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Both graciously on mute. No one's going to be rude enough to talk first. That, or they've both been kicked while I did the link. Either is likely.
No, I'm still here. I've been talking for about an hour now, so I was hoping Arwen was going to...
Did you hear the praise you got, Arwen? From
Sorry?
Sneaky Pete was on yesterday. Very, very nice. He wasn't drunk, so he was a really good guest. I mean, really, really good guest. Kept the conversation going. He was a globe proponent. He's on the globe at the moment. But nevertheless, he kept the conversation going very cordially and had a lot of positive things to say about you, including that he wanted to interview you at some stage. So there you go. Just thought I'd pass that on.
Wait, who? Who are we talking about?
Sneaky Pete.
Oh, yeah, Sneaky Pete, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We arranged that that he would interview me. Well, he's at least a very decent guy, which I can't say for a lot of other globers. So he's going to interview me. I wonder what he's going to bring to the table. I think there's going to be some pretty interesting questions that will bring out the true complexity of vision. Like, where are the edges? Where are the doubting points? Where are you going to doubt which one is the real thing and why? He's kind of a philosophical guy like that. So I really appreciate that about him. And I think it's going to be an interesting interview. So yeah,
When's that
looking
going to
forward
be?
to that.
When's he doing that with you?
Sorry?
When's he going to do that with you?
I have no idea when he's got the time. He's also a truck driver. He has a job and doesn't have all the time in the world like me. Although I don't know for how long that will be on my side as well. But yeah, we'll see. He said last week, like somewhere next week. So who knows? This week, maybe next week. I don't know. Time will tell.
Cool. You did an interview with Patricia not so long ago, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah.
I interviewed Patricia.
No,
I don't
she
think
interviewed
so.
you.
What?
Patricia Steer interviewed you.
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say it's like no. I don't. People don't interview Patricia. Patricia interviews people.
Oh, I've interviewed Patricia. She was very reluctant to do it, but I talked her into it, and I did interview her once.
Well, you're the king.
No, I'm not saying that.
There has to be one exception.
Yeah. No, she's a very good guest, actually. Still see that interview's still up.
Yeah, Patricia is an all-round great gal. Very nice, sportive lady. So, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm always up for interviews, that kind of thing. If people dare approach me. So.
Arwen, can I ask you a question?
Of course, everybody can always ask me questions.
Right. Okay then. Right. I liked your explanation about why things, your theory on light. I'm basically saying that I think it was a couple of weeks ago, you talked about light and how it travelled, and what you actually done is you actually replicated that. I was talking to a guy, a physicist or a physics degree, and he actually sat down with me and drew out. And it was exactly what you said about, the compression of light from the bottom. But I'd like you actually to explain it again, why things disappear. And it's not a gotcha, Arwen, because I'm totally on board with it.
Oh, you mean you're being very unspecific, mentioning light in general, because light is a pretty bizarre phenomenon by itself. But if you're gonna talk about the holographic globe of the heavens and why they are holographic and where it could be coming from.
It was the fact that why things disappear from the bottom. Why that? What's happening to the light that travels that's coming to our eye from the bottom? You gave an absolutely spot on definition of that. It was a couple of weeks ago, actually, a good few shows ago.
From the boat? Sorry.
No. From objects,
yes,
why they disappear first over the horizon. When you were looking over the water, you explained what was actually happening with the light.
Oh, the refraction zone. The refraction zone.
That's the one. Right, and you were explaining what happened.
At the edge of the vision, then the slant happens, and after that, a refraction zone basically bends the light upwards slightly, and that causes a slant, like a corner in the horizon. And from then on, it goes in a straight line. That part, optics.
It was. I'm going to find it because it wasn't that. It was the way that you described how it compressed, how the quality of light coming from the bottom of the object was different from the top, and you explained. Well, you actually explained it, but nobody, you were trying to educate ballers on it, and it's probably the most. It correlated with someone that should know about optics. That was his kind of field. You repeated exactly.
Yeah, optical physics is a separate science, and any honest optic scientist would just keep the cosmogony out of it and just go with what you can actually see and measure. So
yeah, it was just your explanation. I thought it was spot on. I'm going to actually fight. I'll need to go back and look for it.
Okay, well, good to hear that scientists out there agree with me.
Oh well, because it was exactly near enough to, it explained it. You explained it exactly the same way as I got it explained.
Wow, that is pretty remarkable because, to be honest, I never actually read about this anywhere. So
yeah, well, that was what even surprised me even more. I was like, fucking well. Oh, sorry, Nathan. I was like, for you doing that, because I kind of know that you don't really look into subjects, but the way you described it, it was.
I just tap into the Akashic record.
Exactly how I got in. The guy kind of specializes in optics, kind of thing, and he described it. And this is months ago. This guy kind of explained it to me, and then here I heard you repeating it. And nobody picked up. I was like, it explains exactly why the bottom part. It's not because of curvature. It's to do with the actual light. But I'll find it. But I was hoping you would remember it and say it again, because people should hear it again. What you said. That was the impressive thing, because I know that you don't, like read subjects. It's like your perception of it, kind of thing. But it was quite amazing how it matched up with.
I just put it all together. It's from different angles. Like one hand, I have my memories of my visions. Like it's like a deja vu that actually completely breaks through. That's how I experience it. And on the other side, it just makes sense. Once you stumble upon the idea, you can figure it out and it just makes sense. You can just reflect the concept back on all the observations.
How you doing, Jibby? Hold on, sorry, Owen. Is that you, Jibby? Probably not.
No, it's me.
Oh, well, that's a surprise. I was just about to kick you. How you doing, Jibby? Long time no see.
Yeah. Good to see you. Continue, Arwen. Finish your point. I just wanted to bring something to the table. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I'll let Arwen finish.
Hi, Jimmy. How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Good.
Oh,
what was you
done?
Yeah. What was you going to say there?
We're all really wrapped up in what you're saying, Owen. That's what I all thought. Yeah.
What did I say? Oh.
About the optics, about that thing with about the optics. As I say, I was well impressed, and it was kind of, yeah. And it's a good explanation. It fits perfectly with what I was actually explaining.
No, yeah, if you just look carefully and just figure out every time in each picture what are you seeing, then this is just the model that comes out of it. It seems that just your perspective on the first part of it, where you can see more detail in things in general, it just goes up. It seems like it goes up towards the horizon, and then at some point there is this cutoff line, and after that it just seems to slant in a different angle. I don't even know exactly what the angle degree is. Might be like something between 5 or 10 degrees. And then it goes on from there in a straight line. And the further you go, objects will need to be bigger and higher for you to be able to see them over that refraction zone. But yeah, even with super large mountains in the far distance, if the air clarity is clear enough, then you can just backtrack that it's not going around a cumulative curve, a curve which would make the drop go cumulative the further away it goes, but it just goes on in a straight line after the corner, after the slant point. And that's just how it seems to work. And yeah, it's very interesting that optical scientists can actually, well, use their insight in formulas and all that, and in lens testings and all that, to actually confirm that. That's really fascinating. I'd love to see, like Rumpus is always showing us the globe and how it's supposed to work on that in his model. I'd love to see some real optics models in that, some classic pictures that show how optics work. That would be a good thing, just to see it, and then try to explain things.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because of the fact is that we see everything we observe is through our eyes. So it's kind of obvious that we should really, go down that, because it is a fascinating subject, how the light.
Well, the light. To stay on topic, I don't know if you guys have seen this. This was posted yesterday by my buddy. National Geospatial Intelligence Agency proves flat Earth. So he goes into the manual here: sailing directions, planning guide, and route Antarctica. It's basically, he goes to page 55, and here's what they say here. And the prevailing winds blowing off the continent have small moisture content. Consequently, the visibility is usually very good and often exceptional, a fact which, if not appreciated, may lead the observer into serious error when judging the distances. An object may be thought to be 5 miles out distant, could well be over 30 miles away, and mountains have been sighted at over 300 miles, or at 300 miles.
There you go.
Very interesting. Their little official write-up here. And of course,
you've got a link to that. Jimmy, have you got a link to that book then? What book is that? Can you stick a link in the side chat?
I don't have a link to the book, but this is on Taboo Conspiracy's channel. He might have a link, actually. Taboo Conspiracy, this was posted yesterday, February 2nd. Well, 2 days ago.
Did you say they were going to sail around the Arctic?
Prevailing winds blowing off the continent and small moisture visibility. It's talking about visibility mostly in this page right here, not really sailing around it. And how, I guess, this refers to that optical magnification. And now we're, an object 5 miles away could be 30 miles away, and we're seeing it through optical magnification. So, interesting. And does this coincide with refraction?
The lens setting that basically determines when you see sharp. That is, the zoom effect. That kind of determines how far away you could see and how far away the apparent slant would be, correct? Yeah. Where the cutoff point is, it depends. It all depends on the lens. The lens determines where the slant will appear within view. So if the lens is a super far distant lens, then the slant should actually appear to be much further away than with a regular eye. And then it appears a lot closer. Correct? Is that a thing?
I don't know. 300 miles away? That's further than mountains at 300 miles away. That's the furthest I've heard so far.
No, but that's just logical, because it is, it appears all to be flat. We can observe things very far away, so why would there be any limit? It's just dependent on the air clarity.
Correct. In their world,
but I was wondering just about the slant point.
I was just going to say, in their world,
is the slant point?
You've got you know, their optics allowing you to see all the way around the sphere if the day is clear enough. Well, in reality, you can just see a very, very, very long way because it's flat.
You know,
Right.
think of the observer height. Think of the observer height for it, because if this was in a boat, think of the observer height and you're seeing things 300 miles away.
Yeah, they're in a boat seeing mountains 300 miles away.
Well, that could work.
Exactly.
You could look like right on the surface of the water, and you could still see things very far away if they are high enough. If the mountain range would stick up far enough, then you could still see the top of it very far away.
Yeah, but you could work out how high the mountains would have to be. You could work out, well, they're saying that from Antarctica, if you could work out how many miles away, how much the drop was, you know, give it a 90-foot observer, and then the mountains would have to be, and then, you know, work it out from there. It's quite a brilliant piece, brilliant find.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's I wanted to toss it into.
Nice one, Jim.
All the great work you guys are doing. And it's good because a lot of the people who weren't around last year before, they didn't get to see the, you know, the basic ass whooping in the flat Earth debates that went on, and now they get to see it again, and it's pretty much the same results again.
Troll
And
grinding.
Yeah, it's never
Grinding
going
them
to change.
paste under a mill wheel.
Yeah, it's so much mental gymnastics, so anti-Occam's razor, and they're frustrated. You know they're frustrated. That's why they're so
Occam's
temperamental.
hammer.
Occam's hammer. Yeah. Yeah, really.
Occam's spirit level.
The Occam's razor is like a really careful, delicate, balanced thing, but in this case, it's more like a hammer. Just squash it, and pieces just scatter all over the place. It's anything but careful to go very rough. So Occam's hammer.
That's awesome. Finding. I'll take a screenshot of the name of that. You'll be able to find it online. I'm going to find it online and read that.
Yeah. Most likely, if you put in like one of the main sentences in quotes, then Google will pull the thing that has that sentence in it. I mean, usually pretty easy to find something in print, but using an exact quote for a sentence that's in it usually pulls it up.
Yeah. I'll definitely be doing that after the broadcast, I think. Yeah, nice one. Cool. So how's it been when we do then, Jibby? What have you been up to? Oh, well, yeah.
For getting frustrated, mostly.
But what?
When it comes to the flat
What
Earth,
is that?
thing,
Because
it's- I deal with a lot of local corruption as well, like my local town corruption, which every town in America is totally corrupt with the taxes and everything else, and there's all kinds of it's just there's always something, and I'm just so tired. Why do I have to keep fighting? Yeah, why do we have to fight for fairness? That's it.
Politicians in America are extremely, how do you say, ambitious, and they just nestle anywhere they can and just dig in.
Yeah. And the ambitious types
Like
are
a
the
bunch of
types that
ticks.
climb. They're the types that climb the ladder. They're the types that compete in the rat race. They're the ambitious type. While the peaceful types who just want fairness and serenity, harmony, just whatever. Let's just do things that make sense. They're not ladder climbers, so they're not seeking power. So anyone seeking power, that's going to be the dark side, no matter what. It's their intent.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and they don't allow people
to
to ascend without corrupting.
At some point, you do have
you
to
can't-
conform to the already settled-in corruption group, and
Indeed.
you're
Or you
one of them
have
or
to
you're
go
not.
in full war, as full psychological war, and basically somehow gathers a crew of loyalists that are hungry for punishment that will go against the giant titan of corruption that will reveal itself once you start to do that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's
I think once
incredibly
people-
challenging.
That's what
to
makes flat
overcome
Earth
the
so
corruption.
important. Basically, if people realise that they've been lied to on such a huge scale, they'll start to look at things that you're getting frustrated by, and that's bad news. That's why you need a control structure.
Yeah.
Bad news for them, not bad news for us.
It's for us, it's a challenge. For them, it will be bad news eventually, because they can't hold up forever. And every time they reveal their actual dark side, which they have to just to defend their position, just to keep things from changing, every time they expose themselves a little bit more, they become seen. And people will recognize them for the evil that they wield, basically.
Well, even though you can ask anybody you trust your government, you think your government's lying to you, and 99 out of 100 are going to say, oh, yeah. But they don't do anything about it. They just kind of are Stockholm syndrome.
No, but there is a generalized view of corruption, like, hey, what do you think of government? Yeah, it's corrupt, of course, but that's a non-specific, oversimplified view of things. And once people in that government actually start to do really corrupt things and in the open and it's seen, then this generalized view becomes more narrowed down, and you associate it more with the actual person. And then you can't look away anymore, because you know it's that person and he's still sitting there doing that thing. It's not so easy to look away from as compared to, oh, it's just government, which is non-specific. So every time a person reveals themselves because somebody is attacking them, actually trying to get them away, then they will expose themselves in the process and become more visible for the evil that they wield.
You also need to make it personalized, the corruption, for people. Like, they put this in your child's cereal, then they're, oh, what? That's how you get people really.
So you have to it would be good to actually find out where that decision had been made and which people were in that room involved and who had the official responsibility and made the decisions. If that level of detail is cleared up, then you can really have a foundation for judgment, and it's not just a generalization anymore. So yeah, the gritty details of how these corrupt decisions have been made. Who did that? Who was literally involved? With what person?
Alan, I've got to agree with Jibby there. You've got to personalise it, so the person that you're telling, they can resonate with the ramifications, how it affects their life, and then it's personal. And when it's personal,
it comes close, then their person becomes endangered. They're no longer out of reach. And then they show them how the corruption has affected them.
Well, when you tell them that the space is fake, NASA's lying, they don't understand how that affects them personally. You're not going to stir up a lot of anger in them.
That reaches so high up. Most people, like local governments, they have nothing to do with that. It's
no, not that
mega
stuff,
tech heads. It's the people that really have the insight in technology, that make the decisions in development. Those, the real high ups, they know about this. Local governments, they have no idea. They're not involved in that kind of thing.
I have a friend who, I think he started working for iRobot, but he's been working in the electronics and the in said fields for a long time. And he, I asked him about the Roomba vacuum cleaners, and I said, are they mapping your? He's like, oh, they're taking all kinds of readings. You wouldn't even believe.
Oh, metadata, yeah, but metadata is pretty widely known. That's everywhere.
But I say to him, I'm like, and you don't have a problem with that? He's like, this technology is awesome. You should see some of the things that they've showed me. And I'm like, yes, but do you see where this is going?
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. He's just like, well, I'm making good money. I'm paying off my mortgage.
It is the good and evil thing.
They don't
care.
The
same thing with, but it's the same concept as with, well, whether it be exactly true or not. It's same with nuclear weapons. There's like, you can make power plants out of them, or you can make bombs out of them. And the same goes with metadata. There's a lot of financial advancement and like basically the save of losses, the lesson of financial risks that metadata can bring with it, because you can map out what decisions people will make, and that way make much more efficient decisions in how to play into that without losing energy. And that's
Yeah,
the,
but what
the pinnacle
happens?
of efficiency, and that is what's so great about it. Unfortunately, if that entire system is then turned around, you can use it also to kill people or basically make them so miserable that, yeah, that
Arwen,
everything just goes wrong.
Arwen,
It's all a matter of who wields the power.
are you a believer in nuclear weapons?
No, it was just an example
Okay.
that people get. Sorry, globe lore.
I don't know. There's some flat earthers are not sure.
No, neither am I. Well, let's just say let's hope we'll never find out.
I think I'm not 100% sure nukes are fake. I'm about 500% sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure there are really freaking big bombs out there. So
Oh, they got
whether
big
they be
bombs,
nuke based
absolutely.
or
Yep.
they're just really freaking big bombs, there
But
is a
they would
danger of
need
blowing
so
up a lot of shit.
For us to be in fear, like their big bombs, they would still need like thousands of them to carpet bomb the whole U.S. to get that result that
You
that
wouldn't
we
know.
picture with
You
the nuke.
wouldn't. You don't know that just because the nuclear blast idea with the concept of it being having to do with radioactive stuff. Maybe if that doesn't work, doesn't mean that they could have advanced just in the science of
no, it'd be
exploding
too big to
themselves.
launch
They
with the
could have
payload.
found a way to enhance just
Enhance what?
explosives in a
Dynamite?
terrible way in the meantime, and they would never tell you. It would be a secret in the
Yeah,
military.
they're
industrial
using
complex.
sound. They use sound and just the basics: sound, electricity, X-rays. They don't need big, stupid rockets and bombs. They can just use energy weaponry of all types. That's it, and that'll be very effective on us.
Yeah, but on the other hand, bombs are very visible. Sometimes you need to defeat an enemy tactically without being noticed, so that there's
Or-
no scare in the world. And sometimes you do need to make a statement. That's like
But that's for
when Trump
propaganda.
threw that mother of all bomb things on Afghanistan was completely unnecessary. But he did it exactly because it is so visible, because it makes a statement. It has another type of function, not to literally blow
That's
up,
the
but to
only
be
function it can
impressive.
have. Yeah, it's going to blow up
Bombs
a couple
are
of buildings and
impressive.
a
They
couple of
impress
blocks.
us.
That's it. It's about a smoke show. It's look, booms and flashes, scary, scary, and then they use
Fireworks.
that. Yeah, it's not really like covering a wide area of destruction. So they'll just use the little area and the kind of like the finale at fireworks, like boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, shock and awe, and they'll be like, "Look at this! Look how
Well,
tough
it
we are!"
reminds people
and
that
it's
it can
firecrackers.
happen, and that makes them afraid. So that's the function.
They're not going to reveal though their energy weapons to the public, in
No,
that,
they will
in that
eventually.
regard.
You're just gonna see them use it, unfortunately.
They use it on crowds. They use it on diplomats. They use it on the Iraqi army.
That's the small scale energy
That's-
stuff.
Yeah,
That's the mind
So
manipulation techniques.
that's just what we know about. So
Yeah.
we don't know, but I'm
I
not
thought
worried
you
about a
meant
nuke.
like the real death ray type things, the Star Destroyer like lasers.
Oh, pfft,
You will notice
that
when
might
they
have
will
been
be
like
fired.
outdated. That's probably outdated. That's
No,
Star Wars
not
program?
outdated. That's just perfected. They got a lot of time to work on that and to make it stable, basically.
Here's a thing, guys. Here's an interesting thing. About 25, 30 years ago, or maybe probably longer actually, maybe 40 years ago, there was a program on television called Tomorrow's World. Maybe Nathan remembered it or has heard of it. Really what it was they would show all new inventions, all tech that was coming up and everything. And there was one I can remember, and remember this is go back 30 years. And what it was, sound system, a speaker, radio speakers or whatever, that you could actually, like, I could sit somewhere in the room, could hear the music as loud as I liked, right? And there could be someone sitting a foot away from me and couldn't hear it. And it was actually, the sound was, it's quite a straight, I can't believe it. And then it disappeared. Now, about the tech that I know about now, it's kind of the same idea.
It's
Think about
resonant.
this.
It is holographic sound.
Think about this. Stop. Just one second. Just let me finish. You've got to think about this, right? That's like putting a sound wave out to a specific space. Like, so that's like, I always found, I was fascinated by it because I was thinking, how the hell could someone that was a foot away from you, and you could blast this up, you could blast up loud and you would hear it, but they wouldn't. years ago they had this tech.
But that's actually not that hard to explain. I understand how that works. It works very similar to holographics. Look, sound is all waves, and a certain combination of wave effects will create the sound. So if you design a sound in a specific way, then it could basically be audible at a specific point in the wave, and then in the next part of the wave it would be completely inaudible. It all depends on the resonance that is used. Sound waves are very, how do you say, malleable.
Okay,
It's all it's cymatics. You can do anything with sound. You can localize it. It's very similar to the concept of a hologram, that where the beams meet, that is where you see things. And with the sound, it's kind of the same way.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that sound stops there at that specific length. It stops there. It doesn't go beyond your hearing. It doesn't go to the side. Now remember, if it doesn't mean that once I hear it, that sound wave has stopped travelling past me. It still goes on. And it's done to a specific length. It doesn't go past the person.
No, but it does go beyond. No, it does go beyond that. But
no, that's what he's saying.
Sorry.
I do remember that Tomorrow's World episode, and what he's trying to explain is, like, if you imagine, it would be akin to a laser beam stopping in midair. So you can walk to a certain point in the room. I remember someone else telling me about it in more recent days in the audio industry. But you could walk to a certain point, a certain place in the room. So if you said, right, at the central point of this room I'm in now, if you walk to there and tell me what happens, you'd walk to that point and suddenly you'd hear music or whatever you were playing at that particular location. But then you step left and you hear silence.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
I'll explain.
No, but
exactly.
It is the same type of concept. It is basically a certain wave that just has focus points where it will make things audible, and in other points you won't hear anything. And on that wave, a single sound wave that has like a shape where things are audible and where they are not, that itself could carry a whole set of sounds and like a tune or whatever. So that makes sense to me, really.
Yeah, but it's stopping at a specific point. This is the point. It's like shining a laser beam, and it's stopping.
Nah.
And
yeah, but
2 feet away from you, 3 feet away from you. It's just, I know what you're saying. I can understand what you're getting at, but it's the fact that that sound wave, I could walk 360 around that person, and I still wouldn't hear it a foot away.
All right.
I could go. So it's specifically the sound wave stops right there at that specific
But they
point.
could have built in a white noise mechanism that just at a certain decrease of energy, that it would collapse in it.
But
because of the white noise that would nullify the whole effect after a certain point.
Right, now, 30 years, matey. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I've seen that. So now think what they've got now. Yeah. So directed energy weapons and all that kind of stuff, man, it's not that far off. And I hear all these people saying, "Oh, directed energy weapons and stuff like that." Oh, it's a myth. Well, no, actually, because it's something I seen like 30 years ago. I know it's sound, but sound is an energy weapon. You can blast someone. You can make someone's internal organs with a certain frequency or bass.
You can have
and specifically direct.
Crying
brown
in agony,
noise,
make them throw up, vomit, pass out. You can do anything with sound. So you can pretty much hack the human body with sound.
Yeah,
whatever
everything's got a certain resonant frequency, including us and our organs and everything else. And yeah, you can manipulate those with sound waves. Absolutely correct. I'm sure one was deemed the brown noise, and I'm not going to detail what that did to you, but I'm sure you can guess.
All right. Well, you think about it. If you think when you're watching a film, right, and then there's a bit of acting going on, if you take away, your hypnotic stare at the two actors, listen to the music that's been playing in the background. It'll be sad music. It'll be scary music. There's proof that it changes, affect our emotions, affect our being, our consciousness. In fact, if you think of I think, you know, it adds that bit of music in it, and it makes that scene more impactful. Range, you know,
Absolutely correct.
It's just science.
No, music. No, not in terms of its scientific. I mean, I think what he's getting at, Alwyn, is that from a very profound point of view, you know, music affects you in a way that isn't necessarily to do with just the science of how, you know, air is moved to make your ear detect the sound waves. We're not talking on that level. It's just, I mean, I find it akin to when I first started looking into flat earth. I wanted to find some flat earth music. Now there's a whole ton of it that people have actually made, but I was looking for stuff that was out there, and what I found was lots of heliocentric programming embedded in music. It's the same as Disney everywhere. Using a really nice score that's really dramatic when there's a heart, you know, something that really tugs on your heartstrings. There's always going to be, you know, the violins in the background to make the mood correct. But that effect, if you're hearing certain information, is very, very profound and has a deep-seated effect on how people will behave. Now, if you can target an individual with specific sounds and specific, you know, whatever, if you can target individuals, that's very, very unnerving, especially when you know how much of a profound effect it can have on an individual. So it's not necessarily just sounds and how they work in their physics. It's what could this be utilized for beyond, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago when they were just literally bombarding people
and utter conditioning. Every emotional association always pointing at a certain thing.
So even more than that, when you give your DNA to DNA.com or your Ancestry.com, now they can have your specific fingerprint, basically, for brainwaves.
Yeah, look, they can have anything of you. They can have a clone of you and use it as a voodoo doll. It doesn't matter. They can do anything, but I would like to really now at this point put in a counter argument, and that is with all these powers, all these external powers that they can use to break into you, a person with its consciousness and with its spirit has the same level of power to counter this, because it's all dependent on how much you let it manipulate you.
I agree, you've got free will
about it is dependent in how much you let it influence.
Yeah, free will.
Well, there is a limit to that.
If you just notice and you refuse, then it'll not touch you.
Arwen, there is a limit to that. Like if you're standing at a rally or something, and here come the police trucks with the sound cannons. You can resist all you want, and you will. You're gonna feel it.
You can run away.
You're gonna have to run away, but you can't like resist it with your consciousness. Like
you might be able to, but won't be very easy to do because the energy is so high, and
having an understanding helps. Same with subliminal programming. If you understand what it is and where it is and how it's used, you're less likely to be affected. You're more likely to just spot it.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And it counts for everything. Even their direct control mechanisms of shutting down organs or driving you insane or whatever, you can all resist that. If you have the strength of spirit, if you are used to resisting outside influence, if you're used to getting along with everything, just going along to get along, if that is your mode of living, then you will not be likely able to resist anything.
It's a fear-based polarity, I call it. You're either in a fear-based polarity or you're in a love. I don't want to call it a love-based, but, you know, courage, confidence, you're grounded. You're grounded in your knowing. You're not fear-based all the time. You're not like,
no, but that's,
what do you mean by that?
Thing.
You know,
that's
like,
a separate thing.
Yeah,
that is the energy
it affects
that you
your whole polarity, though. Your entire being, every single thought is infected with insecurity when you're in the fear-based mindset. Every thought, like I got to get something to drink. Well, I hope there's enough. You know, it's just a fear-based infection, and it affects your entire. You want to call it a vibration or a frequency?
That is a separate. That's not what I was mentioning. That is the energy, the methodology of light and darkness. And you can go either way. It all will shape you. What I was talking about is how much you actually resist outside influence in general, and how well you are at resisting outside influence in general. Or if your modus operandi, if your way of doing things is to just go along to get along. That's what I was mentioning. The more you are used to defending yourself from outside influences, the more you will be capable of resisting this type of technology that could break into you, while people that are just used to always going along, they will be completely incapable of resisting it because
you're
they've
talking
built
about verbal?
themselves in a way not to resist.
About
Are you
5 minutes
talking about
left.
like
And it has
verbal?
5
nothing to
minutes
do with
left.
light or darkness.
Are you
Those
talking
are
about
just the
verbal
temptations.
influencing? Like somebody's verbal influence, like a hypnotic suggestion, things like that?
All of it. Everything. All types of influence. Sound influence, subconscious, laser, anything flashes, all of that. The more you are used to defending yourself, your own consciousness, your own way of being from outside influences, the more you will be capable of resisting that type of technological influences.
What do you think causes these
Yeah, but-
foreign thoughts with the pharmaceuticals? You know, may get
Sorry?
feelings and thoughts of suicide and things like that. Like, where does this come from?
Well, the funny thing is, especially antidepressants, it's very deceptive because it all does exactly the opposite of what it says it does. Depression is a state of being. It's part of a psychological cycle that people go through that are vulnerable, that can reach into that depth. And what the pharmaceutical does is prevent your chemistry from going there.
It treats the symptoms, not the cause.
No,
and that
it's more
depression
complicated.
is a symptom of a cause.
It prevents you from being able to go there. It blocks it. It puts a wall of reflection in between, and you
Like
can't
a
go there.
paint.
But what this does on the long run is it breaks your cycle. It breaks your natural psychological cycle, which will be distorted by this. And once it then breaks down, you get everything back. Everything that was held back by this medicine will all be piled upon you in a moment. That is why some people that have become dependent on antidepressants and then are for some reason forced to quit or incapable of continuing, they suddenly get completely overwhelmed because they're no longer used to going through the cycle anymore. And then suddenly it all comes back instantly, and they are incapable of handling it anymore because they've become used to there being a block in between the pharmaceutical stuff.
About 1 minute
Prevents
left.
them from dealing with it. That's basically it.
A big point of it though is recognising that you are depressed, kind of thing. I had a friend there. We talked about it, and I mean, for people to understand depression, you have to have experienced it before. But my friend said a very poignant thing to me. He said, "When you're depressed, don't get depressed about being depressed. It won't be the first time you've been depressed.
Yes.
Right? So actually you're going to come out of it again. So the point is just don't get depressed about being depressed. Accept it as it is. No.
You can only know this if you have wisdom. If you have forced yourself to remember, because the sensation during depression and even during ecstatic moments so overwhelming is that you completely forget about the time.
But the point is, you will have known that because you'll have been through depression, and you know. So once you know something, it's like what you're talking about. Once you know that laser, that picture's there to make me feel like that's kind of. To me, it's not I've got to defend against it. I know it, so it has no effect on me. I'm not defending. I just think that picture's there.
Enough of the wizardry talk, gentlemen. Enough of the...
And with that, I will say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.